Hi, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about how we can set up a MongoDB on cloud and we can access that DB through REST API. And this is the URL mongodb.com. Here we can see start free or the try free. One of them we can click here and so it will take us to the next page where we can sign up an account. So there are few details here being asked like first name, last name. Company is an optional one, and we have to give it the email ID and password, and we will get a verification link being sent to the email ID, whatever we provide here. Also, we can use sign up with Google to set up an account as well. So here I'm going with the create your Atlas account. That's what I choose right now. Upon entering the details, let's fill up the details and click on the create your Atlas account. There will be an email being sent for the verification. I think, yeah, it's getting loaded. Yeah, so we got an email verification, and upon finishing the verification details, we will get another page. Here, the MongoDB is going to collect few information, so we can select either one of them. So I think I'm going to choose learn MongoDB here. And after then, what type of application are you building? That is also being asked here. So we can provide as per your requirement here. And the next option is what language we are gonna choose. So there are different languages here on the drop down. So I choose JavaScript and click finish. So the next level is we have a free tier which is M01 and we can use M10 and also serverless. So for our training purpose, we can go with the M01 that is free. If we want to use a heavy application later in future, we can go with other as well. So here there are different providers, AWS, Google Cloud and Azure. So I'm choosing Google Cloud right now. And also there are different regions where the server sits. So this is also there's an optional we can choose as per our needs. So I'm choosing central here, and we can provide a name of our cluster as well, and click on create. Yeah, so it will take us to here. This is kind of like a security quick start. Like if you want to add some more users, so that's why we can add users here. And I'm skipping right now this one. So because our aim is to set up a data API, that's the REST API. So let's go with the data API details right here. Let's click on the data API. So here the data API is already enabled. If it was not enabled, we need to make it enabled. Otherwise, we cannot access. So here we can see the learning. That's the data source name that we have given, and we can give the permission for that particular database. Either we can have a read write access, or we can make it as just read only. So this is the base URL here. So whatever we do the operation, right? For example, like find one, find many, all those, like the base URL will be same. Let's jump into see our API documentation to see what are the endpoints available to do the CRUD operation on the MongoDB. This is the curve of the API that shows how to insert one document and into the MongoDB. And here on the left side, if you click on the resources, we can see the many other APIs like insert, update, all kind of like CRUD operation APIs. And here we can see, so here this is the base URL that we have, and at the end of the base URL we have the API path called insert one. And also we need to create an API key to get the access to the MongoDB. This API key being sent in the header. And the other thing the data raw, which is the payload, and here we are sending the data source, database, collection, and the document. This document is the one document that we are going to insert into the MongoDB. If you have many documents, the structure gonna change a little bit. So instead of one document here, it will be like a documents. It's an array of documents. On the right side, we can see many API details. And here we can take an example of single document. The API path will be find one. If you are taking the an example of the multiple document, the API will be find. Similarly, for the single insert, it will be insert one, and for the insert multiple, it will be insert many. Yeah, similarly for any other documents as well, and we can get the here we can see the documents, right? Just like we mentioned earlier, it will be an array. For the single one, it will be an JSON object as well. In the case of a multiple insert, it will be an array of JSON objects, and each JSON object will be a document. Now let's test an API. Earlier we talked about the create API key. If you don't have an API key setup, the API gonna throw a 401 unauthorized error. Let's test that. So here I am using a Postman for our API as an API client. So we need to change the collection, database source, everything here. So I just created like employee as a collection and database as my company, and our data source name is learning. Here find one, we don't have actually any data, so we don't have any data at all. So as a first step, I'm going to insert one document. So for that, we need to make it as insert one here. And then on the body we have a database, data source, and collection also we have already entered the details, and now we need to enter the document detail here. So here I'm going to add a name as IT. I'm going to add a role as well here, something like senior software engineer. Let's click send here, and we are making sure that we didn't have any API key set. So we are expecting a 401 error to be thrown because we don't have access to that MongoDB. So there are multiple way of getting the access. One is like through the username and password. The other one is like the API key here. So and we can clearly see here the invalid session and also the 401 unauthorized. So let's go ahead and validate that collections are being created or not. So for that, click on the database, and here on browse collections, and yeah, we don't see any collections or any database here. So here there are a few we can load some sample data set, or we can add our own, or we can use data API. So here we are going to create a API key first. We can give any name and generate a key and copy that API key, and we are going to add that in our Postman so that we'll get access to that particular database. Sending upon send, we can see here the inserted ID being created. That means whatever document we try to insert, that should be already loaded in our new collection. So click on the database and browse collections, and we can see the collection my company, and inside one company we can see that table called employees, and yeah, that's it. Now we can insert data directly into this collection as well by clicking on the insert document here. So if you want like another to add another one more document, so we can add a name and role as well here. Junior developer. Now we can see both documents here, one we created through the data API, and once we have those data, now we can use another API called like find multiple documents to validate those documents. So to see the endpoints, so here whatever the base endpoint, and we are going to append action and find, and that's the API URL details here, and we already have that added bin here. And upon click we can see both documents here. Now if we want to filter based on some conditions, like we can for example name pull the document or whatever is having a name as an IT, so that we can see the find a single document, and here we can use the filter even not only for the single one, we can even use for the multiple one. So it will pull the documents whatever it matches the filter. So here I'm going to try filter with the name as an IT, and so yeah, so we got the document which is having a name IT. We know that we have two documents here, and we got only one on the Postman which is having a name IT. Yeah, because we applied the filter name IT. Now we can see how we can project the only few fields. So we have many fields here like a role name, and if for example if you have like a thousand attributes or name or fields, and if you want to project only few of them, that is possible using this projection attribute. Here we have two fields, name, role, and ID. By default it will come when we are fetching any document. And for example here let's do a multiple find multiple document, and we'll apply a projection. In our case we can try with a role, so which means like in our response we will get ID and also role, we don't fetch the name. So for that we can apply, this is a syntax projection, then in the it will be a JSON object, and where we can give the role. So we can remove the filter here so that it can pull all the rows. Yeah, so here we can see it pulled back to documentation which is only having a role. So here there are many other details like how we can use, and this is like kind of like useful.